just in case you've been away from it long enough so that it makes sense to come back to it and take a good look at it again, or maybe look at it the first time, or maybe get it, this time. We're going to talk about advertising. The program that we're dealing with is going through the appendix and taking a look at some of the things that we've, not covered, or maybe have covered but not thoroughly enough. And the process that we're using is using the appendix, and the being heard G appendix is what we're in now. We've come out of education and going into being heard. So that's what we're coming to, and that's anything that might have just got put into this category or this appendix is what we're going to talk about now. And what they say is, we do not know how to fix the long list of problems that are in this country. We are constantly trying various approaches to the problem that plague our great nation, but have little lasting success. Why is that true? Because advertising works, in big red letters. Now that sounds like we've lost our train of thought, but wait. A minute of advertising during the Super Bowl costs over $6 million. A minute of advertising at the Super Bowl costs $6 million. Do you think these big corporations just throw that money away? No, they do it because it works. Advertising is the process of telling you something over and over again until you believe it. Come on, you know it's true. If a person had enough money, they could advertise to you on TV, radio, and or the internet, and you will eventually come to believe what you're being told. If that advertisement is more convincing than other messages, you will most likely believe the advertisement message, no matter the proof to the contrary. The proof to the contrary is called spoofing and conspiracy theories and stupid, ignorant people that have got little internet sites that are trying to tell you the truth. And of course, you don't listen to them because they aren't the big nightly news paid for by the overchargers advertisement. And therefore, taking a look at the little internet thing and the great big huge television news thing, you're bound to believe the television news thing. We're telling you that the advertising is what makes it so that you can't get your country straightened out if you don't look at it that way. What they're asking you to do is take a look at the global warming lie and see that the world temperature at that time, from 1900 to 2014, didn't even raise 1 degree centigrade and is now dropping. Still, the CO2 continues to rise the whole time. The CO2 is a state. What I saying? Even if we have global warming, it has nothing to do with humans. That's what they're saying. It has nothing to do with human CO2. That's what they're saying. And if you don't think so, take a look at the CO2 charts, and you will find that CO2 has been rising steadily every year. You take a look at the world temperature charts, and you'll have a terrible time finding them. But if you are, try to do it hard enough, you're going to see that we haven't even gone 1 degree centigrade up since 1900. So, the hockey puck rise that you're supposed to be seeing now, it's 2018 now, and we don't see the hockey puck rise. We don't see the rise at all. It's actually the temperature in the world's coming down. Now, I don't know what it's doing in 2018, but in 2009 on to 2017, it's been pretty level. But the CO2 is going up continually, and it's it doesn't take a super genius to figure out that there's something wrong with the concept that we're being the cause of it is CO2. The CO2 is rising and the temperature isn't. Doesn't take a scientist to figure that out, but but you're advertised to, and everybody believes that. Oh yes, it's doing it. The glaciers are melting. What they're telling us is true, and blah blah blah. And yet the actual facts, if you can find them, which you can't, but if you could, and I do, the temperature hasn't risen 1 degree centigrade since 1900. Not 1 degree centigrade since 1900. Tremendous amount of CO2 pumped into the atmosphere by our cars and coal and all the things that we pollute with CO2, but it isn't changing the temperature. But the tremendous amount of money that people are making off of the CO2 lie, it's just one of those things that you, maybe by the time you read this, somebody will stop and say, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. we're not doing what they told us we were doing. Now it's 2018. Right now, we should be way up high on the graph for the hop. We should be 3 to 4 to 5 degrees warmer than 1900, and we're not. So something's wrong, and nobody's talking about it. It's advertising. The most disgusting form of intelligence manipulation is advertising. There's not a person in the world that believes that anyone has the right to take away free will, yet that is exactly what advertising does. What did we say? We said advertising takes away free will. Advertising is so terrible that it enables those in power to not only take away free will, but they get you to pay for it while they're doing it. So they get you to pay for the advertising to take away your free will. That's interesting. You say it isn't working, and yet you're paying to make sure it works. The greedy overchargers, and that's what we'll call these people. We started calling them greedy overchargers because they're greedy. They can't help it. They're addicted. They're insane. And we're talking about a whole huge group of people in the 1% category. You know what that is. Or less than those people, maybe 0.5. But you get to pay 52 cents extra for a box of cereal that you really didn't want to buy in the first place, but you had to buy it because of the advertising. And even the fact that you didn't really want that kind doesn't make any difference because you are advertised to, and you're going to do it, and you're going to pay for the advertising to make you buy that cereal that you didn't really want. Whew, think about that. Now think of your toothpaste, your shoes, your gun, your house, your car, even your husband or your wife, all tainted by advertising, and thus they may not have been what you really wanted if you'd been able to keep your free will. That must seem obvious and rather insignificant until you take a good look at it. Your wife, your husband. If you took a good look at it, you might say, wait a minute, this is relevant. I mean, it's real relevant. The fact that advertising works points out two things that you need to know. The first thing is you need to find out how bad you've been had by those greedy overchargers. And one of the things that they say over and over again is a redeeming fact is that advertising works. Well, what does that mean? If you've been had by the greedy overchargers, and you have, you might say it's really not your fault because what we're saying is that advertising works and it takes away your free will, and so you don't have a choice. That's what we're saying. That's number one. You can't walk around saying, oh, guilty me, guilty me. You need to change the advertising laws. Okay. The fact that advertising works absolves all those who are under its spell. If advertising works, and it does, then how can you be to blame? How can you be to blame, or how can you blame anyone for what they do because of that advertising? Okay, that's number one. Secondly, and far more important, it points to the fact that someone is using advertising to manipulate you, you who are not to blame. Someone is using advertising to manipulate you. Who's using advertising? Who's doing all this advertising? The greedy overchargers. Who are these greedy overchargers? We do not know. not them that are writing this, us human beings. We don't know. We do not know how they do it. We do not know hardly anything, and until we're really true to find out, really ready to find out, we'll dance. They that are using the advertising will dance us around and around like little pet puppies with a ring in their nose and a chain attached to the ring so that they can pull the chain if you begin to make the wrong move. Now, how's that for a picture? Until you're ready to find out, they will dance us around and around like they're little pet puppies with a ring in their nose and a chain attached so they can pull that chain if you begin to make the wrong move. Let's go to the greedy overchargers in their game. How can you make millions of dollars? There are millions of ways, and we choose to bring it down to one truth, and it's the only truth, as far as we can tell. Somebody makes $1 million. Somebody made $1 million. See, it could be your grandfather, your great-grandfather. It could be you. But whoever did it, they did it by overcharging. And that's the only way. Now, you're thinking, well, no, there's thousands of ways. No, there isn't. There isn't. If you have something that you're going to sell, if you have work that you're going to do, just common sense will tell you the only way to make over a regular fee is to overcharge. And if you charged what the thing was worth, you wouldn't make millions of dollars. Think about what was just said. If you charge what a thing's worth and do not overcharge, you will make the normal income, the acceptable income, even the reasonable income. The only way to get rich is to charge more than the thing is worth. That makes you a cheater, a thief, a rotten person, and worse. With advertising, you get us to honor you, and that's what's worse. With advertising, you, whoever who's using advertising gets us to honor you. That's just plain sick. And in fact, you are sick. If you are one of those advertisers and you are using advertising to make us worship you, you're sick. And I understand that we're sick for worshiping you, but then think about it. We don't have the control. So they say, allow us to give you some background information on who they are and how they work and their feeling toward you. Who are they we are talking about? Well, and we've said this before, we can't pin down who they are very well, except that we know they're the 1% and above, the 1% in income tax information, the top 1%, the top 0.5%, the top 0.7%, we don't know. The top 1%, they're in there. And a lot of them aren't even ever discussed because they're so rich. So they say rather than tell you who they are, let's turn around and say who they are not. And that might be important. They are not the police officers. No, I know not a lot of people are going to say that's wrong, but it's true. They're not police officers. The police officers only do the things that you don't accept because you do not control the police officers. And the advertisers do. The people super rich do. So if you're going to point at the police and do them, you're an idiot because they're only doing what they're told. How about the Army? Same thing. Navy, Air Force, Marine person, any government official, or any other person you have been programmed to think is your true enemy. They are actually, in fact, the rich 1%. All of them? No. We need the People's Trust News to find out. We need to change the economic system in this country so that there aren't people making that billions of dollars a year and they get back down to 400,000 a year that they can live on, and all of us all of a sudden have all kinds of money. We're not being overcharged. We're not being stolen from. Those people who have all the money and overcharge us to get even more and some even more. Those are the people that are our major enemy. How do they work? Imagine that you're a sociopath, and you need to look this up. It's a kind of sickness, but But you need to look it up and see what it means, sociopath. They have almost unlimited funds. We're talking about trillions of dollars as pocket change. You can buy a politician and pass any law if you want, and they are. You can buy all the advertisement you want and hire the best advertisers to make that advertisement look like something else. You can buy the right people at the top of your police force and the military and have them do your bidding, and they do. And by politicians, and they do. And that's why it seems as though you cannot beat them. Also, if we were trying to fight the police and the armed forces, we're not going to win that battle, and they know it. So, they've got purchased top police telling the other police what to do. We got purchased top government officials and politicians. All of them? No. Just rotten, good-for-nothing people? No. Advertised to? Absolutely. Following orders? No question about it. They have the control. What happens when they have $400,000 a year income? They don't have the control. They don't have any control. The rest of it's all taken away. All the monies they have and all the, that I understand they're going to have to work at it. You take the manufacturing away from somebody, you got to have somebody manufacturing, or we don't have things manufactured. So you have the second in command or the third in command take charge, or they just don't get paid. 400,000 is it. Well, they have no motivation. Who has no motivation? The very top 1%? Do we care? Well, they run half the businesses. Well, okay, then we'll start running half the businesses. That's the thing. You have to get to your thinking is that instead of they who are insane, money-grubbing overchargers, there are just people running the businesses, and all of a sudden the cost of things go down, and the quality of the product goes up, and the safety of the product goes up, and they don't care if you lose your job. They don't care if you lose your marriage. They don't care if you lose your home or your children, and sometimes even your life. They don't care. They do not care if the foreign worker gets paid next to nothing and has to work horrible conditions for the rest of their lives and they're working in their factory. They don't care. They do not care. Enough said. However, they do have enough money to make sure that you don't know who they are and what they do. They have bought the entertainment daily news media and the news investigators. Do we still have those? No, they're quitting right or left now. But anyway, they've bought the entertainment news media. Top people say, no, you can't, put that news out. So it's not entertaining enough. So they own us so far. Now all of a sudden we have a way to rise up and say enough. We've had enough, and we're finally going to do something about it. So just what are we going to have to do to correct the problem of the greedy overchargers? What is the thing worth? Now you see the problem? Who's going to price each item on a store shelf and say, well, that's overcharged, that isn't, that one is, that one? Who's going to do that? Nobody. How are we going to know if the prices change? How are we going to know if it's really overcharged? You can't control anything that way. So what? To go on, if you were now, here's what they're trying to get across to you. Think that would, if you knew that it was true, it would be very confusing. You don't know it's true, but if you look into it, you'll see that it's true. To go on, if you were the head of a huge corporation or anyone else, would you be worth more than the President of the United States? Are you getting paid more than the $400,000 a year the President of the United States makes? We can suggest an amount 20 times the common laborer, can we? What would a man or woman be worth? Would a man or a woman be worth more to us in this society than 20 times the common laborer? If we get back to reality, and that isn't even reality, 20 times a plumber, 20 times a factory worker, 20 times a McDonald's employee. We get back to reality, we can easily see that no one's actually worth that kind of money. And unless you have all kinds of extra money to pay him, or her, and that extra money is gotten by overcharging. See now what they're telling you? There's something wrong with the payment that we're making, and the thing that's wrong is that somebody's got a tremendous amount of money they're stealing from you, and they're paying these people a huge amount of money. So anyone who makes more than $400,000 a year is overcharging and becomes one of those greedy overchargers. We're talking about less than 1% of all the taxpayers, and that's not you. It'll never be you either. Those people are getting their ego boost from the amount of money he or she has stolen from the common man. We don't let people rob, kill, rape, or even threaten another person, even though they're able to do so by using force, because we've made, no, you don't understand what they're saying. You got a gun, you can't steal, rape, beat people. It's against the law. Well, we're not allowing it, but you're allowing them to overcharge. And we haven't made you have to remember, why do we allow overcharging? You haven't made a law that says we can't do that. You think someday you're going to make a lot of money too, and it's bullshit. You're just not going to. The 99% of you are not going to make that kind of money, unless we change things. So those overchargers steal your saving, take your home, threaten us, take away our children or grandchildren's futures, and even cause our death. Why do we allow it? Come on, really, why do we allow that to go on? We allow it because we've been told it's acceptable in all manner of hidden advertisement, and advertisement works. So in the hope of becoming one of the 1%, you begin to think, well, don't bother with it. Don't mess with the thing up there, because I might be a person that's up at that one. Never. 99% of you never are going to be. It's a lie, but you're being told it, so you kiss their boots. We have given you an example in the form of a large multi-plant manufacturing industry, and we're going to give you that. We've done it before, but I think we're going to do it again. The top person gets a wage plus bonuses. You have been told that person must surely be worth more than $1 million per year. Most are being paid much more than that small sum. However, let us get back to reality. You have been taught that the person is worth more than the small sum of $1 million a year you're talking about. However, if we left that industry just as it is and replace or remove only the top man or woman, just the one person that's worth $1 million, with 3 top grade foremen to go down to the floor and see just what is actually being done, $180,000 a piece, for those 2 people, 2 top grade foremen, one each of a chief utility manager officer and a facility management executive to make sure that all is well with the building and equipment and they're up to date. That's $360,000 a year. We haven't got to the $400,000 yet. 2 top accountants to take care of any money questions, $240,000 a year each. 1 top business intelligence specialist to make sure we know what's actually going on in all areas of the business, $150,000 a year. 1 person to gather all that information and make the needed decisions, $100,000 a year. Now you have just replaced the $1 million per year man or woman. Now you see, you just replaced all of those people got in there, and they're doing a much better job than the guy at the top. But you're paying the same $1 million for all of them. Now, is the head of an industry worth that much? Have you been told he or she is, and you believe it? These greedy overchargers have been at the game so long they have almost all the money, all the property that's worth anything, all the natural resources, all the farms, they're getting the houses, and they're working on all the water right now, owning it, you understand, so they can charge you. They can only do that because they've been overcharging and buying you. They've been overcharging you and buying from you with their stolen money. They've been buying the farms and the property and the factories, and Now let's get to the point. If the greedy overchargers were by law made to give back that money they stole from us, we'd be out of debt. We could get our houses and farms back. We'd be all soon have a good 20-hour-a-week job, 20-hour-a-week job. Think about that. It's true, though. Jobs would be available for us and our children. We get back to our politicians instead of the overchargers politicians. Overchargers cannot control us anymore. So how do we do that? And they say in red letters underlined, people's trust news. First, let's get advertising out of the way. Understand that it is only our suggestion that your new government, your new government might want to make it into a law. You will have to do nothing here, but your new government will. Your new government are the politicians that you put in office with the new government pays for all election processes and costs. Let's start with correction of advertising. To put right the problem, we need to regulate advertising to a much greater extent than we do now. Much, 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 much better. We might just totally get rid of it. The need is to eliminate the use of emotional fresh breath as exactly equal to the beautiful girl in your arms type advertising. Just the facts, please. Eliminate the emotional pitch in advertising. This will accomplish several things. First, it will reduce the effectiveness of advertising. That'll cut the use and its cost. The effectiveness cut is going to use it. Nobody's going to buy advertising if there isn't any result. The net result will be those things that you do buy will be cheaper since you'll be paying a lot less for the advertising or nothing for the advertising as part of the cost. The second thing that will happen is you will be less things will be perceived as needs, and all of a sudden you begin to realize they're just wants, and you can buy a lot cheaper thing, same quality, same stuff, as the thing you've been taught in your advertising that you absolutely have to have. And this again will save you money. The third thing that will happen is that the morality of the society will perhaps again be placed in the hands of those who are wise rather than those who are after your money. Never doubt that the game players have been forming your morality through the advertising and TV programs, and boy, let me tell you, you wouldn't believe the way they do it, and the sneaky sitcoms and the this is okay, and on it goes. Right now, they are in the process of making abuse of children okay. Now, I've told you that it's 2018. They're in the process of throwing it out on TV, and they're throwing it out, and they're just sick people, and they're just, it's like gays. They're different. We're just different. We're not okay. What they're saying, what I'm telling you is that they're in the process of making child abuse okay. And the way they're doing it is they're making it sound like it's just like gay people, two women instead of a man and a woman. What is that? It's weird. Well, it isn't that weird. Well, it used to be weird. Well, it's not that weird anymore. And and it's okay. And now it's okay. And now if you say anything about your evil and your prejudice and so on and so forth, and that's the way they do it. I'm not telling you, and they're not telling you that gay people are wrong. And I'm not telling you, and they're not telling you that gayness is wrong. We're just saying that that's the way they do it. They make it sound okay. They make it sound okay. Now, diddling little children, that's okay. They're going to make it okay. You watch. 2018, I said it. They said it. That's what's going on, and when you begin to realize that these things are going on, we're going to put us. See, look, if you have People's Trust News and you have the news ticking off the thousands of children that come into our country and they have no parents with them and they just come alone and they just sort of disappear. And when you begin to have People's Trust News say, where did they go? We can't find them anymore. We don't know where they went, and on and on that way. And then you begin to realize, hey, you don't suppose there's something going on there? Hey, there is something going on there. Hey, we got to stop that. And that's what they say. An educated and well-informed society will take care of those problems. No more emotional lies or tricks used by advertisement. That's the way it should be, and that's the way we would make it. And it's time that we started to take a good look at that and get it done.